Why, hello there, Nice Tale here. I hope this video finds you very well, and I thank you very much for tuning in. This is the review of the Tacray Tarcus here. This is a knife I got off of Amazon for, well, it's $28 on Amazon. It's pretty super budget, and honestly, it's done quite well. I'm pretty happy with this thing, and definitely can recommend it. I will put a link down in the description if you care to check it out. For transparency's sake, if you buy it through that link, it does help the channel. So, I would appreciate that. I would also appreciate your consideration for liking and subscribing. I'm on my way to 1,000. I'm about 3/4 of the way there for subs. And any subs would help. Greatly appreciate that. Also, of course, feel free to put comments down below on what I can do to earn your sub, what you would like to see on the channel, anything that you would think might help to bring better content to you. And stumbling over my words does not do that. Sorry. But, ultra budget. Before we get into full specs, I will say, as this is the full review, there will be timestamps down in the description if you care to just skip through the specs and get right to the review itself, where we actually start talking about this knife. But until then, the specs begin. We're here at 3.5 inches of blade and just shy of 8 inches overall. 4 3/8-ish, just shy of 4.5 on the handle. Let's make our comparison, since none of those numbers came out perfectly even, or whatever. I figure some comparisons might help here. Our resident full-size comparison, the Civivi Conspirator, and small knife comparison, Civivi Elementum. It's definitely close to the Conspirator, just a tiny bit shorter, and that's the handle. It actually has pretty much exactly the same amount of blade length as the Conspirator. And perhaps the most important comparison, in my personal opinion, is the AA batteries, because anybody can grab AA batteries and see how much grip length they have. As you can see, the primary grip is just shy, just barely, of the two AA batteries, but you definitely have this area where, even though it doesn't look like it, maybe like a finger choil or something, you can definitely choke up on there. It's more comfortable than it looks. So you have more than two AA batteries to hold on to for this knife. Hello, dog. How are you? Why are you whining at me? He's a grumpy old man. Oh, yes, you are. I don't know what that means. Weight. Can you see that? Is the question. 2.66 ounces. Yes. It is an ultra lightweight knife. This thing is a featherweight and giving more than an ounce an inch. Great ratios. And part of the reason of that is thickness. I mean, materials and thickness, of course. But thickness is well under half an inch at 0.439. With the clip, we are 0.58, which normally most knives, in my experience, tend to go over that 600 thousandths of an inch if you include the clip. 0.83. 83 thousandths of an inch for the blade stock. It's quite thin. Quite thin, in fact. And behind the edge is also going to be absurdly thin. Coming in... No, get down there. 8 thousandths. 0.008 of an inch. Yeah. It's definitely not a hard-use knife. Don't go beating on this thing. It's so thin that I could probably... Yeah, I can bend and wiggle the knife blade a little bit. And that's definitely helping keep down on the weight, but it's also making for an extremely good cutter. This is a slicey knife. It's got a full flat grind. And honestly, at the price point of $28 here, it's got a surprisingly good edge, honestly. A lot of knives don't at this price point. This one does, and just the geometry alone, you put an edge on anything with a geometry like this, it's going to go through things. I've done some decent amount of cutting with this, some zip ties and boxes and a tarp and stuff like that. It's actually held up really well. And it's probably down quite a bit to that geometry where it just wants to cut. It is D2 blade steel, by the way. which, though not corrosion resistant, it should have better than average edge retention for a budget knife. I doubt that it's going to be as high heat treated as this Miguron Karak. This is actually $10 more than this knife. But this thing has what they say, and what has been checked and proven on several examples, to be approximately a 63 HRC, which is kind of crazy for budget D2, but this will probably be more in line with what your normal D2 of around probably 60. Can't say for certain, I can't test it. And it is coated, which should help to protect against corrosion. I feel like I'm forgetting some... Oh, hardware check. Duh. I should have probably done that before moving on. Well, whatever. This is freeform. It is T8. And the rest of the screws are sadly T6. However, I have taken it apart, and it's not stripped out. So it's held up pretty decently. I wouldn't like to see T6 as much as I would like to see that just sort of phased out. At this price point, I'm also not going to complain. That brings us to the end of our specs. So let's just get into the actual review and my thoughts on this knife. Very useful blade shape. Slightly modified sheep's foot. The D2, maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but whatever. The logo kept relatively off the blade, so pretty clean presentation. Sharpening tool and plunge grind is great, and especially with this thin geometry, you're going to have a ton of life on this thing. You can definitely sharpen it all the way up there and still probably have a really thin knife. It is on bearings, and it is a crossbar lock. It's kind of got medium tension, though I will say it does require a decent amount to actually get it to fly out of there, probably because of how light the blade is, but medium, I mean, it's a decently executed crossbar lock. I will say that what's interesting about it is, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but when it rolls, you can sort of feel the bump of all of the bearings, and it kind of has this kind of a zippery feeling, and even sometimes sound. I thought that would make it feel cheap when I first unboxed it. It kind of doesn't. It's kind of like personality almost. It's weird. It's satisfying, and it's so consistent throughout that it's not like, oh, it does it here but not here, and that kind of gives a cheap feel to things, but not this one. Stop pins are attached to the blade up front, garage, as you can see, and there's a decent amount of steel housing around the bearings and everything that really give this thing a solidity that I wasn't expecting for such a thin blade. Like, there's no play in this. And with such a thin blade, again, the flex alone oftentimes can make it feel like there's play. There is not. So, yeah, they did a pretty solid job on that. And, well, I mean, the action is quite good. The handles are G10 with a thin carbon fiber laminate over the top. The actual steel housing for the crossbar, it only goes up to here. That's what these screws are holding in. So the rest of this is just G10, and that definitely helping with the weight of this thing, right? I will say that the laminate is decent. It's not perfect. As you can see, there's sort of a little right here on the bottom. Little flex at the edges, maybe. But I can't feel them. So they're not hurting anything. And overall, it looks pretty good with this red that is pretty eye-catching. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to come across on camera, but light hits this thing right and shimmers. It's pretty good looking, honestly. Deep carry pocket clip. Very deep carry. In fact, it gets almost all the way in there. I'm not going to say it goes completely perfectly to the end in thicker pants, but it still gets pretty deep. There is a flat here, however, good flex, good retention. It actually works quite well. The one thing that's not necessarily great about this knife is that despite the ambidextrous crossbar lock, it is not a reversible pocket clip. So left-handed people, I'm afraid that you're not really accommodated here, which is kind of sad considering crossbar lock should almost always have the option to swap the pocket clip, in my opinion, just because of how universally usable they can be. But okay, again, $28 knife. Right, okay, so they're not paying attention to everything. Some standoffs and some, I guess, reinforcement pins here. There's also a hidden lanyard pin, or I guess what could be used as a hidden lanyard pin. I don't know if it's intended to be, but whatever. And the ergos are actually surprisingly good. Yes, it's square, it's blocky and everything like that, but these heavy chamfers make it surprisingly comfortable. It really does work in the hand, and as I said, you can go up here without really feeling like you're going to get into the edge of the blade. No jimping, but half the time jimping, especially on budget knives, doesn't do anything anyway, so what's the big deal? Overall, this thing is definitely recommendable, actually. It's centered, there's no play. Yeah, I liked this. I've enjoyed carrying it. It's definitely a solid budget offering. I mean, it's not like, oh my god, it's the greatest knife ever, but it's for $28. It's pretty good. So I'm definitely going to recommend it, and as I said, link down and below to the $28 Tacray Tarcus. You know what? I think I've covered everything. I did this in a pretty fast rate here. So I'm going to conclude the review here. Say thank you very much for watching. Again, consider liking, subscribing, and have you had any experience with Tacray? I may have to check out more of their knives because this is pretty good for the money. Definitely not hard use, but solid. And should be popping up on screen maybe in a couple seconds, if not now. Some other videos if you want to check out some other stuff on the channel. I'd appreciate it. But either way, have a great day, and thanks for tuning in. See ya.